Good day to you and welcome to another Paddocks Club video tutorial. Today I want to talk about managing agency contracts and take you through the details of a contract that I've been working on for various purposes. Any contract of this sort should start with the details of the parties, but what does that involve? Well, for both the body corporate and the managing agent, there should be the name and number, contact details of various sorts, whatever is appropriate in the circumstances, but it must be clear where you can send people things. A service address probably is the most important of these, so that when formal communications are required, it's absolutely clear where they should be delivered. A provision may also be made for changing those during the course of the contract. So what is the course of the contract? The term of appointment is the second fundamental. How many years is this contract going to work? From when? When will it start? When will it expire? We'll deal with cancellation later on in the contract. Then, having got those preliminary issues out of the way, let's move on to insurance. I think this is very important that the manager's fidelity and professional indemnity insurance details should be stated, and that the manager should be obliged to continue having that sort of cover during the course of the contract. There should also be details of all fees and commissions the managing agent is entitled to take or receive on placement of insurance cover or outsourcing of any other service. The fees and services that are to be paid under the contract and to be delivered should be described in some detail. So the annual fees, what is the total annual fee, how often is it to be paid, and what services does it cover? All of these should be set out in detail. Then there would, beyond the annual fee, be additional services, no doubt, which would be charged either on an hourly rate or at a fixed fee for a particular service. Well, what is the hourly rate? When fees are not charged by hourly rate, how are they charged? How often must those be paid? And finally, the issue of disbursements. The managing agent will sometimes have to spend its own money. How are they chargeable? How often are they repaid? And then, in the course of this contract, are fees going to be reviewed, or is it a fixed price contract throughout the entire term? How's that going to work? Most long-term contracts will require a provision for a periodic review of the fees, and that's an important aspect. Then, delegation of body corporate functions to the managing agent. In practice, this always happens, but it isn't sufficiently formally dealt with, in my view. So when you enter into a contract, you say, these are the things that the trustees would normally do on behalf of the body corporate, and these we want you to do. You write it down, you then know that the managing agent has authority to issue that notice or call that meeting, whatever it may be. It's very important that these be set out. The details of the authorities the body corporate gives the managing agent to make payments. Periodic payments in response to accounts from the local municipality. It makes no sense that the managing agent have to come back and ask for authority if they're within certain parameters. If they're not, if they're extraordinary accounts, then it may make sense not to include those in the scope of the authorities given in terms of the contract. Then let's look at the managing agent's duties and obligations. In my view, these should be set out very carefully in the contract. And I think, just to give you some idea, I've given you a few here. Their duty to act honestly, to exercise due care and diligence, not to make improper use of any information they obtain, to hold money in trust for the body corporate and all owners, to account separately for the body corporate, to the body corporate for its money, and to report at the annual general meeting. You may have other ideas of things you want to add into that list, but I don't think any of these could really be taken out. Transfer or assignment of appointment, it happens that managing agency companies get taken over or they sell portions of their portfolio. What rights do they have to substitute other parties to be the service provider under this contract? That must be dealt with. Either there are no rights or the rights work as follows. And if you're dealing with a big managing agency, that might be a sensible sort of thing. Or a managing agency that you think might be taken over. Again, a sensible provision. What indemnities is the body corporate going to give the managing agent? What situations are there in which the body corporate takes responsibility for the consequence of the managing agent's actions? Indemnities go together with delegations. Sensibly, if you delegate things that you're going to do yourself, then you need to also delegate to some extent, the protection that would go with that action if it were taken by the trustees themselves. The termination of the managing agent's appointment. Obviously, this must be dealt with how and when the contract may be terminated before its natural expiry date. What conditions will apply if and when it is terminated? And assuming it's not terminated, on what basis may it be automatically renewed? Is it 3 months before its expiry? How does that all work? That needs to be dealt with. What are the obligations of the body corporate to the managing agent in this contractual relationship? If there is a dispute or a complaint about performance on either side, how's that going to be dealt with? This should be thought about and set out in the contract if you want something that's going to last. And if there are any additional conditions that are specific to your particular scheme. Finally, obviously, with every contract, you're going to have provision for dates and signatures by authorized persons. So, thank you for joining me in this lightning overview on a managing agency contract. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise them on the discussion forum and we can talk about them there. Again, many thanks.